in addition to Code of Federal Regulations, in addition to HTS-US, other subject which is being tested on is publications and directives. Most notably, customs forms and instructions on how to fill out forms, and directives. Directives is usually a document which is provided by the customs headquarters, which says ports, because customs itself has headquarters in Washington DC, and then have ports all over the country, where inspectors sit, where import specialists sit, where other officers sit, and they let people in and they let goods in. And because the idea is, since the Code of Federal Regulation, the harmonized tariff schedule, is applicable to everyone, the goal is to really make sure that we're on the same page. In other words, if there is something which says the glass is half empty, and then it also means that the glass is also half full, both of us are right. But the instructions say, customs examiners, you must treat this glass as half empty. And there is a reason for that. Because if you treat it as half full, there can be higher duty applicable, for the reasons we shall talk later, called General Rules of Interpretation, GRIs. So those directives, the number of them varies. Sometimes they can be as little as one directive. Sometimes, like last customs exam. Sometimes they can be as many as 5. And what usually happens is, over time, those directives, they get incorporated into the Code of Federal Regulations, and the code itself becomes a reflection of the directive, so it's clear enough. But those are the 3 texts which we will talk about, which we will learn. So where do you find this text, and where do we get a paper copy, and by the way, why do we need a paper copy of this? Yeah, we do, because no electronic devices other than calculators and watches are allowed on the exam. So if you bring your smartphone, no. You bring your laptop, no. iPad, no. You have to have paper. So this will be the core. Those books, they're just the study guides. They're not. I do discourage everyone to bring this to the exam site, because there will be enough stuff that you will be bringing. But this core, you're advised to bring, in addition to other things that I will recommend. So where do we get this? Well, this comes from the government, and hopefully we all good citizens will pay taxes. So we already paid for this stuff. So this stuff are really free. Unless, of course, it comes for paper. We have to pay for paper, but the information itself is free. And where do you get it? You go to the government website. I go to government website. Usually the body of branch of government that publishes it is called Government Printing Office, or gpo.gov, and they make stuff available online with some exceptions. What are these exceptions? Recall the budget crisis? Recall the Democrats and Republicans just a few weeks ago couldn't agree, so they said they forced everyone to take a forced vacation. What happened? All those websites were down, so you couldn't get any books. So, but hopefully this is rare. We do not count on it. So what I've done is I put together useful links which help you download the relevant literature. So you at least have something to go off on right away, to jumpstart and start learning right away. And this literature, these links to this literature, they are available on this website. This is my website. and I just keep it on, so for everyone's benefit, and because I can control this, I can do the periodic updates, and it's just very easy and comfortable thing. So what we're here for? We're here for April 2014 examination, and what's relevant is what type of exam material will be asked of exam takers to be brought. So yes, you need harmonized tariff schedule, but what year? Because tariff laws change all the time. I have students who come in and say, well, I have 2011, is it okay if I bring 2011? Sometimes I have I even last semester one student had 2010 and asked him, what do I need to do? Well, two things you can do. You can update your old book, or you can buy, you can get a new one. As you will see when you come in, I'm talking about regulation, or talking about law, whatever. And I cite to the particular topic which is codified. But I only take out the long legal text, and I take out the stuff that are usually not tested, to only leave the stuff which are relevant. And then I try to, through this a little trickery for our brain, so we can retain the information, I try to highlight, underline, italicize the stuff which I think are important. And I think they are important. Why? Because customs examiners have tended to ask about them. Sometimes I highlight them because I have pretty good feeling that they're going to ask about them. But usually I support this with, well, this is not a good example, but with questions from the past. So I take out the exam question. And as we discuss the regulation, in this case 101.1, which will be our starting point, what I will do is I will support this highlighted stuff and the stuff that are relevant with a question from the past, with the question, the real exam question which customs has asked. So this is how outlines are made. And if you notice, I try to double space and put enough space. This is the reason so our brain can retain the information which is most important, so you guys don't have to waste your time on a lot of legalese and the text that is stuck in between in the regulations. If you take a look at the regulations, they will go unless so and so and so, under executive order so and so and so, provided as amended, and they go etc., etc., etc. It's just difficult to read, and I don't think it's very useful. So the goal is to make things user-friendly and applicable to the real stuff that are being asked, which is customs broker exam. Sometimes, for various reasons, some people may not know that it's not enough to just pay money. It's not enough just to show up. You also have to have some other requirements at the time of the exam and in the future, even if you pass the exam. So it will be not a nice thing if you've done all this stuff and then you found out that you were not eligible in the first place because you were not a United States citizen, or because you were a minor, you were too young. So let's talk about the details, the prerequisite criteria, if you will, for the customs broker exam. So on a day, so this is exam, right? To sit on the exam, you have to meet the following bullet points. You have to have $200, which is usually the easy part. You cannot work for the United States government. So I keep making emphasis United States government, meaning that you can be working for the government of New York City, you can be employee of the New York State or New State of New Jersey, but you cannot work for the federal government. This is the key. Then you have to be 18 years. So on the day you sit on the exam, you have to be 18 years. And the reason for that is because to get a license, you have to be 21 years of age. And usually, from the time you pass the exam until the time you can apply to the license, you have 3-year limit. So this is why you have 18 years of age threshold. So those are usually 4. And if you, for some reason, feel like you are not meeting those, well, think twice. Stay here, you still might enjoy the class. Who knows? Next is the details. There used to be a day when you could do everything by paper. I submitted the paper form, I paid by check. Those days are gone. Everything goes to the digital age. And with the paper, what is called the Paperless Reduction Act, everyone heard of that? It's the direction of United States Congress asking United States government to reduce on paper. We want to be green. So Customs, echoing the spirit and listening to the Congress, went paperless. That's why you have that E there. E means paperless. And of course, since you do it online, you have to pay by the credit card or debit card. So you need to have one of those. Now, some students may not have a bank account, which happens. If you don't have a bank account, it's kind of hard to have a credit card or debit card, because those are instruments of the banking institution. So what I recommend to, and relatives may not be willing to help. So what one can do is they can buy one of those Visa cards and put money on that Visa card, like a gift card. Those things have been known to work too, in case you are stuck in this difficult situation. All right, next one. When you come to the exam is open book. So people say, oh, that's easy. I'll just bring those books and I'll just try to pass the exam. Very wrong thought, because open book examinations are worst type of examinations. Open book examination, if you read between the lines, it means the examination where you're going to run out of time. Because the way the exam is structured is they put so many questions at such high level of difficulty where unprepared person will just run out of time with or without open books. Speaking of open book, of course, we're talking about regular books, not electronic. So students ask, can I bring a dictionary? Which is a valid question, because sometimes things that are being asked on the exam we don't know about. How many people how many people know what girdles are? I say girdle. Girdle. Yeah, girdle. Yeah? So try figuring that out. And you are being asked to derive classification for girdle. We're gonna start. It may be helpful to know what you're classifying in the first place, right? Girdles is a women undergarment, which is which is still warm but not as much. So usually, if you try to appear that you are in shape, you buy some a special type of wear which puts your stomach inside, and you can sometimes see those on CNN commercial advertisements. Buy one get one free, something like that. That's a girdle. Will it helpful for you to know that? Will you see something which you never heard of before on customs exam? Probably. So can you bring a dictionary? Will it be helpful? Yes, you may. It may be helpful. Something else, calendar. You may be asked questions which have to do with calendar dates, because you have to know what calendar day, what is 30 days or 90 days from May 1st, 2013. And because that requires your knowledge of how many days in a month. Sometimes customs are very nice and actually draw the calendar for you in a question. But customs examiners have been known to be not so nice, and they never ask you that question. So when you're trying to figure out the 180 day or 120 day period, to try to figure when you run out of time to do one thing or another, having a calendar in front of you may help. So that's something else you may want to bring. What am I saying? I'm saying that as you dive in, start collecting a folder, kind of like this one, but very much smaller, with relevant information. So get a 3-ring binder, the small one, like 1 inch, right, or ½ inch, and start putting information such as the calendar. Dictionary is another thing, but recall I provided you with this link. Notice this link has another section, charts and tables. They're there for the reason. Click on chart 19 CFR. I'm not sure if how long it will take to load, but if you are successful enough in loading this up, which it works, I checked at home, then you'll be able to see something like this. All right? How is that helpful, folks? Well, this is a result of tedious work which goes through questions that are likely to be asked on the exam with higher frequency as opposed to those that are likely to be asked with not as high frequency. So this chart is breaking down the Code of Federal Regulations, one of the books, into the questions that are less important, rarely never tested, to heavily tested ones. And why is that so? Why, for example, part 4, is less likely to be tested? Because you are showing up to the customs broker exam. And part 4 deals with vessels. So if you're a captain of the boat, let's say steamship line, you kind of have to know that, because you have to do the manifest. You have to do the paperwork for the ship. Not for the goods on the ship, but for the ship itself too.